What if Mamoswine was in Gen 1 OU? This one's been requested for a while now. You guys really wanted me to do Mamoswine, and quite frankly, I do not blame you at all, because this guy would be crazy, and he deserves to be crazy in the modern gens, but he's not, because I don't actually know why, but it's still not fair, because Ground and Ice is a really awesome type. It's amazing offensively. However, for Gen 1, it might be even better defensively. Because being an Ice Ground type means you're immune to Thunder Wave, you're immune to Freeze, you take Ice neutrally, you take Rock neutrally, you're not weak to like Normal or Psychic. So it's just like absolutely insane. And he has really good stats too. Like for being a literal mammoth that's like really tanky, base 80 speed is not that bad. It's faster than Cloyster. Not to mention with a special of 70, it ties with Tauros. And then with that 130 attack, which is the same as like a Rhydon, it flat out just has like the strongest Earthquake in the tier. Or Rhydon does have, 130 attack. See, if flat out just has the strongest Earthquake, that ties it Rhydon. Just the strongest physical attack just in general, that isn't boosted. So it's like, I don't even know what else to say, because like everything about it is just sort of like great, and also that HP stat's also very good, but not for the reason you might expect. Because of its like 110 HP, it means that whenever it uses the move Substitute, it's always 101 damage that you need to do in order to break the sub, which is actually super important for Nightshade and Seismic Toss. Because for those moves, it means that you just barely survive, and they need 2 of those moves in order to actually break the sub. Which means that unlike a lot of Pokemon in Gen 1, just like with, again, Rhydon, Mamoswine can actually take really good use of the move Substitute. And it's even better because of just how great its move pool is. Obviously, it has Blizzard, and originally I was trying to test with Ice Beam, because I was wondering if Mamoswine does better with more power points. But unfortunately, in order to have better matchups against other Pokemon, it kind of needs just to have the immediate power that Blizzard has. But still, that's not like a bad trade-off. Blizzard's still great in Gen 1. Yeah, Body Slam, but you probably won't use it that much. Earthquake, obviously it's a must-have. Honestly, with both Blizzard and Earthquake, this guy is just the strongest mixed attacker in the game. I can't think of anything else that becomes even remotely close. You have Light Screen and Reflect, which, not gonna lie, weird that they have it, but it's interesting to think about. It might be able to help you against like certain special Pokemon that beat you, but it's most likely not worth it. Your moves SWAT is very tight, and the main moves that you would probably use, you would need a really good reason to justify not using them. Rock Slide is one of those moves you kind of wish you could use, but you just don't have the room for. It's good against Cloyster and Jinx, but that's about it, if we're being completely honest. And Substitute, like I said, 101, so it's actually pretty good to use. And Amnesia. Of course this thing has Amnesia. Amnesia and Stab Blizzard, there's absolutely nothing that can go wrong, especially when you have Stab Earthquake, you can hide behind a Substitute, so you just hit everything super hard. There's nothing wrong, right? Well, yes, there is. Even though it's insanely powerful, its speed, while fast, it still causes an issue. Because some of the main Pokemon it needs to beat in a 1v1 are Starmie, Alakazam, and Tauros. But being slower than them makes it really tough for you to actually get your Amnesias up. It means that if you go against any of the Pokemon I just mentioned, you can't actually afford to go for an Amnesia, otherwise they just either crit you to death, or they just do too much damage to you. And outside of Rest, which isn't reliable, you just have no reliable recovery in Gen 1. You don't have like Slack Off or anything, so there's nothing you can do. So you kind of need to get your Amnesias up on something else, which isn't a bad trade-off. Like, it definitely makes it fair, but it's just really unfortunate. And while its typing is amazing defensively, like, two things that would be a big issue for it would be water and fire, which might sound crazy, because, like, those wouldn't be as popular. They're not popular in Gen 1. Like, not only, like, is Surf on Starmie just legitimately good, debatably and maybe the worst of the 4 moves it uses, but it's also the one that's with Stab, and way more importantly, has the most power points, which is incredibly useful. Not to mention you have Slowbro, and I could very well see Pokemon like Lapras and Moltres being used a lot more in OU, specifically because Mamoswine is here. Because it's kind of hard just to deal with it regularly outside of just brute forcing it with, like, crits. So, like, having Lapras, quad resisting Blizzard, not caring too much about Earthquake and threatening with Water Stab, that could be good. And just with Ice, just in general, getting a buff here, because obviously you would use other Ice types to maybe counter Mamoswine, since Mamoswine doesn't actually resist Ice itself. Some Moltres could see, you know, like, some more use. And even, like, Grass, well, not, like, common. If they do have, like, you know, Pokemon like Razor Leaf, it could be a problem for our Mamoswine. But by far the one you have to worry about the least. But maybe it's good that this guy has, like, some counters. Otherwise, there would probably be no stopping it. But for now, this guy just hits like a truck on the physical and special side. And if you manage to set him up, you can just destroy everything in the game. So let's get on to the replays. Starting with the boy himself, Tauros. This first replay was what made me realize that Ice Beam was not worth it. Because, like, I tried going for it. Oh no, I think it was, like, with the other replay. I don't think I recorded it. But Amnesia with Ice Beam is a 2-hit KO. Which is single Amnesia. Which means that a regular would just be, what's it called? A regular would be a 3-hit KO. I'm not sure I was brain farting on that. And as you saw here, even with just Earthquakes, that's a 3-hit KO. Tauros can just outdamage you. And it might even be able to paralyze you. And Mamoswine really hates paralysis. And in the Discord server we were talking about this, I was making jokes about Mamoswine needing to tech in Fire Blast. But ironically, it might not need it. Because, like, even here, yes, it almost won. But it's also inaccurate. Tauros with 2 Body Slams, or just a Hyper Beam, that alone would probably be even more dangerous, since you can get paralysis, and then once Mamoswine's paralyzed, there's not much you can do. So you might not even need to, like, you know, change your moveset. What Tauros already has could already be enough for it to go either way. And I'm gonna be real, I think it's more so in Tauros' favor, because Tauros doesn't need to set up an Amnesia in order to, you know, like, seriously threaten, you know, the other one. And then Snorlax, it doesn't matter what moveset you use, Mamoswine completely counters it. If it's using regular, just fighting normal moves, like here you have just like Blizzard with just a single Amnesia can 2-shot it. Obviously, Amnesia Wax has no way of hurting Mamoswine because it takes ice neutrally, can boost its own special, immune to Thunderbolt. So there's absolutely nothing. Snorlax gets clapped, but not as hard as Chansey. Because it's immune to Ice Beam's Freeze, it's immune to Thunderbolt and Thunder Wave, and like I said, Seismic Toss, you need 2 to break the sub. And it has Rhydon's attack, so it just 2-shots Chansey. It is by far the greatest Chansey counter ever. Almost as if it was perfectly designed just to take down Chansey. And that, my friends, is just absolutely hilarious. And then with Alakazam, I tried doing a few replays. Psychic on its own is just a 3-hit KO, and obviously Earthquake would be a 2-hit. But the issue is that Alakazam gets too many crits or special drops, so I just don't actually see it going well for Mamoswine. I would consider this a bad matchup, because you kind of need Amnesia already up, you can't just use it. And even if you just go for the attack, you might win, but also if Alakazam gets a single crit or a special drop, it wins. And the difference between you two is that Alakazam could just way more reliable heal. Which I wasn't expecting that matchup to be so bad, but here we are. And here is another one. Because, like, unfortunately, even in sub, Clamp still traps you. So your amnesias don't actually save you. You are just unable to hurt Cloyster. It can just clamp you to death, or even just whittle away with Surf if it really wants to. So it's just an unwinnable matchup that Mamoswine can't do anything against. Like, look at there, like, Earthquake didn't even bring it, like down by 30%. And, like, there it did, but, like, a 4-hit KO on Cloyster? Are you kidding me? But it's just not happening, no matter what you do, even with Max Special. And then Executor, it can put you to sleep, but why would it do that? Because if it misses, it just dies, and there's nothing you can do. Probably not a good matchup, probably still great. But Jinx, on the other hand, is a different story. Jinx always outspeeds you, and then both Psychic and Blizzard do a lot to Mamoswine. Psychic is especially dangerous because you can get a special drop. And while Mamoswine's physical moves do a lot of damage, and maybe like Rock Slide and Hyper Beam even OHKO it, I just don't see like it being worth the risk. I think you would very well have no problem trading your Jinx worst case scenario to try to get sleep off on Mamoswine. Since Jinx is faster, it's probably going to be like, you know, the better Pokemon in this situation anyways. But that's just my opinion. And then with Rhydon, it does nothing to you. Luckily, even though Mamoswine is a spectacular, ground type, I still think that with Rhydon's rock typing resisting normal, that would still give it a good edge. Especially since Mamoswine does sort of struggle with the Tauros matchup. Though granted, Rhydon doesn't counter Snorlax or Chansey anywhere near as much. So I couldn't really tell you which one would be better. All I do know is that both would still probably be good. And maybe even used on the same team. But I'm not entirely sure. And then with Slowbro, you can both set up your amnesias. And you can both have max special. But by doing that, like, it changes nothing really. In fact, Mamoswine goes to like 992. Or no, 972 special. While Slowbro is just 999. And Earthquake is a 3-hit KO, while Surf is just a 2-hit. So, it's just not worth it. You might think it's good that Slowbro can't annoy Mamoswine with, paralysis, but like, maybe if... Actually, no, even if you just try to go for Earthquakes, if Slowbro gets a single amnesia up and you don't have any, it just one-shots you. So no matter what, Slowbro always wins the 1v1. Didn't bother with a Zapdos, Gengar, or Jolteon, as you can probably guess how that is. So last up we have Starmie, where Mamoswine has nothing you can really do. Even if it only has like Blizzard or Psychic, like it's winnable. But at that point, like Starmie just probably gets a crit sooner or later, unless you freeze it. And with Recover and being faster, Starmie's just always gonna have just the better matchup. But it's annoying, but maybe I'm being a little too harsh putting it unwinnable. It's probably just bad matchup. But overall, here is the tier list. No doubt about it, Mamoswine's definitely taking much more W's than he has losses. So, he's definitely a great Pokemon, no doubt about it. Maybe even the best Pokemon in OU. But it's hard, or not the best Pokemon in OU. The best Ice-type Pokemon in OU. So, that's pretty much it. This one was actually just straightforward. And I understand the hype around it. Now, I'm just gonna say that today is literally the last day to vote for the Generation Jumble. Tomorrow, I will be revealing the roster and the season will finally begin. And, I don't have much else to say. I'm going to make another video today answering the questions you have for Generation Jumble. So be sure to look at the video links in the description. It's like where I'm going to ask you questions and the one going over the Pokemon that are most likely going to be in the roster. And join the Discord server. Thank you all for watching. And until next time, this is Groundback. And I look forward to hearing from you.